So here we go. Let's get into it. So this story takes place July 1924 on the eastern flank of Mount St. Helens. Now, these five gentlemen were prospectors. I don't want to tell you that I had to go and look up what a prospector was, so I won't. But evidently, they were looking for gold. There were
Yes,
gold
sir.
up
They
in
are
that.
gold miners. Yes, sir.
There were gold miners up in that hill, right? And they were. I actually got a good little piece of history here during my research. Is that the name of their claim was? I don't know where this name came from. Vander White. The name of the claim they were working was the Vander White claim, sometimes spelled Vander White mine or just regular Vander White. And it's the gold prospecting. I can't even pronounce that word. Prospecting claim on which the five men were working. Steve, are you familiar with how a prospecting claim worked back in the day? Well, on the Enigma files, we'd like to teach a little history along the way. And if you some of you people watching this might know this. I did not know this. How prospecting. First of all, I have to say it right. After a prospecting claim worked is that you went to a little local registry they had or whatever there, and you bought time on a certain plot of land, and that land was your prospect. And when whatever you went up there and you dug up or you found, you owned the mineral rights to that land or whatever was found on that claim without necessarily owning the land itself. Now, I didn't have time to dig any deeper on it because I didn't really want to, but evidently I think the claim was filed because I was looking for Bigfoot, but the claim would be filed with, you know, the state. So you would just go to the county clerk's office, file your claim in this area. If no one else had filed that claim, you'd be able to go and work with it. But also a crazy little thing back in the day was that they had this thing, Steve, called claim jumpers. Did you know about that? So basically, if you had a claim and I had a claim, I could roll up and take your claim and shoot you, and I would be an outlaw or a prospect or a claim jumper. And there's a World of Warcraft term in there, but I'm not going to use that for you nerds out there, right? Because he knows what I'm talking about. So, right. So, yeah. So that was that. So, anyways, they were working. They were working a prospect, Steve. They were mining for gold, right? On the Vander White claim. And I'm going to take about 4 or 5 days before the mid-July incident. It was Fred Beck during his retelling of the story. I was also, yeah, during his retelling of the story is that before this encounter went down, they were noticing that strange things were happening around their cabin. And it was the typical type of Bigfoot things that we've gone over before on our show, Steve, on the show, where non-life threatening, but hearing chirps, hearing knocks, hearing whoops,
Mhm.
finding, strange little things going on, right? Did you find that as well?
Yeah, I saw that the first evening that they were out there, that they claimed that they heard like wha what they described as wild howling, and it was different from just, whatever natural kind of animal noises you would hear during the night. So that was something that kind of kept them up the first night.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm.
Again, so I mean, we've heard that before. I mean, that's nothing that's like, woo, make
Yeah.
me, we've got some time under our belts in the Bigfoot investigation, right? But one of the things too that I thought was interesting is at the time that this took place in 1924, there was not necessarily a unified word for the term Bigfoot, right? And
Mhm.
we're going to get into that, right? So they did not know exactly what was going on, but one of the men, I want to say it was Roy Smith, he later went on to claim that he he said, no, yeah, I think it was he said that these were not random calls that were going on, hoots and hollers. They seemed like they were coordinated with purpose, right? And
Mhm.
we talked about this before with the samurai chatter video, Steve. Remember what they said about that samurai chatter?
Um, Gotta be more specific than that.
But they said well, during the analysis of the samurai chatter, they said we don't know what they're saying, but it's definitely a
Right.
language of some
They're
sort, right?
communicating. It's not
Yeah,
just random noise. There is communication with like you said, with purpose. They're actually trying to I don't wanna plan something, but they're talking actively. Yeah.
yeah. There was intent behind the chatter,
Mhm.
right? And the same thing is what he went on to say, is that the same thing is that, you know what, they couldn't, they knew something was happening. They knew it wasn't, you know, animals that, you know, because these guys have, you know, back in July 1924, these guys were walking with lanterns, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there were no flashlights. So they had some time. These guys got some time in the woods, man. So like they knew that, you know, they knew that it wasn't an known animal to them, right?
You're right.
And he said that he could tell that they were, you know, whistles and calls and knocks. And he said that they were going from ridge to ridge, and they would start right around dusk, and they would, you know, carry on through the night. And they knew that it wasn't wild animals. They knew what all these wild animals sounded like. There was no radios back then. There was no TV at night. These guys were in that cabin, and this is how it was, right? He says, and they were persistent. That's the thing that he said, that put a couple of them, not all of them, from what I read, a couple of them, you know, became uneasy, right? Like they were just, hey man, something's wrong. I don't know what it is, man. And they felt they found it very unsettling, right?
Mhm.
And I can imagine that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like we're in there with a lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's like this five guys there eating our cornbread and beans, and we're hearing some
Mhm.
weird stuff going.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I got that whole thing in my head, right? Like it's cornbread and beans, right? And
You
there's a couple,
you, me, and Jay sitting in the cabin.
yeah, right. Just talking up, man, talking it up, and then eating cornbread and beans, and like who's going to go
Uh,
outside and wash the skillet? You know, just things like
mhm.
that, right? And hearing that going back and forth, I can see where that's going from. And then, you know, also too, by on like the second or third day, Steve, did you read about these prints they found?
I heard that it was what I saw was Hank had noticed that there were large footprints outside, and he said that at the time, he didn't think anything of it. He thought maybe it was a bear or something like that. You know, it was he had seen them, but he didn't it didn't click in his head or anything. Because again, Bigfoots weren't really a thing back then either. It wasn't something that was on his mind, you know, so he didn't give it any second thought. But yes, they saw these big tracks outside the cabin.
Yeah, so good old Hank Hankerson, just like, you know what? He noticed them. He said they were about 14 to 16 inches long, right?
Mhm.
And you know what? He just, you know, hey, it's just one more day out here in the wild, man. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
And they didn't think about it. And it's funny too, because I did a brief cross analysis on this. We actually did a story on our channel. You can go look it up, where Steve and I talked about the very first ever reported Bigfoot sighting came out of British Columbia, which is actually north of this location. And it was, I want to say 1850 or 1845 or something like that, right? Remember that, Steve?
Yeah, the one was God, what was that called? The name's escaping me, but I know what you're talking about where they attacked the house
Yeah,
and
they went
they
down the river. Yeah,
and then the Bigfoot ripped apart the 55-gallon fish barrel.
fish barrel. Yeah,
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.